You know the feeling. That expensive, high-precision stamping tool fails. It's frustrating, it's costly, and we've all been there. The root cause? It often comes down to one critical factor: the grade of tungsten carbide you chose. So today, we're going to demystify that choice. We'll break down the science behind it and give you a clear visual framework for picking the perfect grade every single time.
First up, we'll talk about the core problem every toolmaker faces. Then we're going to dive deep inside the carbide itself to see how its performance gets tuned. From there, we'll cut through all that confusing jargon around grade specifications, see how to match the right stuff to the right job, and finally, wrap it all up with a simple, actionable guide you can actually use.
All right, so let's jump right in. What's the fundamental issue here? Why do these tools actually fail in the first place?
Oh man, we've all been there, right? You've got this beautiful, high-precision tool, thousands of dollars invested, and then, bam, it fails. The press stops, production grinds to a halt, and everyone's asking, what happened? Well, the answer almost always boils down to one fundamental trade-off.
So, a carbide tool really only fails in one of two ways. On one hand, you've got abrasive wear. Think of it like a slow death. The tool just gets dull over time, losing its edge. Then you have the other side of the coin: chipping and fracture. This is the sudden, catastrophic break. Now, the property that stops wear is hardness, and the one that stops fractures, that's toughness. And that, right there, is the core dilemma. You can't just crank both up to 11. If you make a tool harder, it gets more brittle. If you make it tougher, well, it gets softer.
So, to solve this dilemma, we have to play detective and look inside the material itself. What exactly is this stuff we call cemented carbide?
You know, it's not just a simple metal, it's a composite. And the best way to think about it is like high-performance concrete. You've got the gravel, or the aggregate. These are the incredibly hard tungsten carbide particles, the WC. They give it wear resistance. Then you have the cement, a tough metallic binder, usually cobalt, that holds everything together and gives it its impact strength.
And here we go. This is what it looks like under a microscope, blown up 1,500 times. See those bright, pointy-looking particles? That's your super hard tungsten carbide. And all that darker stuff filling in the gaps? That's the tough cobalt binder, the glue holding it all together. As we're about to see, the ratio and the size of these two things, that's the whole secret sauce.
Okay, so if the whole performance comes down to this structure, how do the engineers actually control it? Well, they basically have two big levers they can pull to cook up the exact performance they need.
Lever number one is the amount of cobalt. Take a look. On the left, that's a grade with 12% cobalt. See how jam-packed those hard grains are? Now look at the right. That one's got 15% cobalt. See all that extra dark binder? That cobalt acts like a cushion, making the grade on the right way tougher. The one on the left, though, it's harder. The rule is super simple. More cobalt equals more toughness.
All right, lever number two is the grain size. This is cool. Here, both grades have the exact same amount of cobalt, 15%. The only thing that's different is how big those tungsten carbide grains are. On the left, you've got these tiny, fine grains. That creates a very hard structure, awesome for wear resistance. But on the right, those big, coarse grains, they create a structure that's much better at just soaking up shock. So rule number two is, for the same amount of cobalt, smaller grains give you more hardness, and bigger grains give you more toughness.
This brings us to something that trips a lot of people up: the grading systems. I mean, there are thousands of grades out there. How are you supposed to make sense of it all? Let's talk about what to ignore and what you really need to look for.
If you've ever looked at an old blueprint, you've probably seen C grades, C10, C12, that kind of thing. Well, this system is now considered dangerously unreliable, and here's why. A C grade only tells you the intended job, not what the material is actually made of. This is crazy, right? It means one company's C12 might have 15% cobalt and fine grains, but another company's C12 has 12% cobalt and medium grains. They'll perform completely differently, even though they have the same name. It's a total mess.
So you gotta look past those old C grades and go straight for the manufacturer's spec sheet. These four things on the screen, this is what tells you the real story. Cobalt percentage, that's your number one clue for toughness. Grain size, that's your best indicator for hardness. And those other two numbers, hardness, or HRA, and toughness, TRS,
That's the measured proof. That tells you exactly how it's going to resist wear and fracture. This is the data you can trust.
Okay, this is where it all comes together. The payoff. Now that we understand the microstructure, we can start matching the perfect grade to the right real-world job. Let's kick things off with lamination stamping. For this job, the biggest enemy is just pure abrasive wear. You need a razor-sharp edge that just lasts. So, what's the solution? Maximum hardness. And that means you want a grade with low cobalt and superfine grains. The picture of the microstructure on the right? That's a perfect match. It's engineered specifically for insane wear resistance.
Now let's swing to the total opposite end of the spectrum, heavy blanking. Here, it's not about wear. It's all about surviving these massive, brutal impacts without shattering. So, the solution? Maximum toughness. And that means you're looking for a high cobalt, coarse-grained grade just like the one you see on the right. Its whole structure is built to just absorb shock and keep on going.
So what about a job that's kind of in the middle, like forming and drawing? Here, you're fighting two battles, wear and also something called galling. That's when the material you're stamping literally tries to weld itself to your die. Not good. The solution here is a balanced grade, like this one, with a good mix of both toughness and hardness. And here's a pro tip. These grades often have special additives, like tantalum carbide, which acts like a tiny microscopic lubricant to stop that galling from ever happening.
Okay, so how do you take all this and turn it into a simple, repeatable process? Let's build a little framework you can use every single time you need to pick a grade.
It really just comes down to a simple 4-step process. First, step 1. Analyze. Just look at the tool that failed. Did it slowly wear down to a nub or did it just chip and break? Step 2. Define. Based on what you saw, decide what you need more of. Is it hardness to fight wear or toughness to handle impact? Step 3. Consult. Now you go to the manufacturer's datasheet and look for a grade with the right cobalt and grain size. And finally, step 4. Partner up. Share what you found with your supplier. Seriously, their engineers live and breathe this stuff and they can help you nail the perfect recommendation. So while that classic trade-off between hardness and toughness is always going to be there, the materials themselves are getting way, way better. We're seeing new stuff like nanograin carbides and these incredible advanced coatings that are starting to push past those old limits, promising the best of both worlds. The future of tooling isn't just about stopping failures, it's about hitting whole new levels of performance we couldn't even dream of before.